Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to the Elite Week in-depth breakdown of the Frontier Development Content Reveal stream of Fleet Carrier. If you're looking for a general overview of Fleet Carriers in a compact format, I highly recommend that you check out the coverage of Commander Burr, or Down to Earth Astronomy, or Lave Radio, just to name a few, as I'm sure that they will provide concise and insightful coverage on this matter. If you wish to go down the rabbit hole and look at every aspect of every morsel of information released along with a frame-by-frame examination of the trailer, then this is your source. So let's get to it. The link to the stream about to be broken down in detail is listed in the show notes. I highly recommend that you go back and rewatch that video after having listened to the breakdown and see how many more pieces of information you can now pick out after listening to this coverage. The pre-recorded live stream announcement was filmed live at Frontier Development Studio set on March 19th at approximately 8 o'clock a.m. to noon UTC with edits. Stephen Benedetti introduced Luke Betterton, a designer focused on fleet carriers, and Dav Stott, the lead of the server team, who will be explaining all the details about fleet carriers and answering questions live in chat upon the premiere of the stream. They will be referred to from this point on as Stephen, Luke, and Dav. So 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, Stephen, how much are fleet carriers? The answer is 5 billion credits, as already announced. 3 minutes and 30 seconds in. How far can fleet carriers jump? The answer is 500 light years, already announced. Then Dav Stott said, and if you're careful with your jumps, you can even get back again, indicating that the fleet carrier's fuel tank holds 1,000 light years worth of jump. But as you're going to see in a little bit, there's a way you can augment that. 4 minutes in, Stephen. So obviously fleet carriers were supposed to be released last year and we took some more time to work on them and make some changes. Can you explain those changes? Dav, we made them more cool. Luke, oh yeah, it's cooler. Yeah. So the original loadouts, we had things like bounty hunting and exploration, the sort of careers that people can take in the game, and it didn't feel quite as good as we wanted. So we looked at it again and decided the answer is to make it up to the player. So we made it modular so that the owner of a fleet carrier can use the fleet carrier more freely for varied gameplay opportunities. So there you have it, folks. That's why we didn't get fleet carriers in December, because they looked at it and it was a product that was just not gonna wow you. And they said, we need some more time, we need to make this right, and we need to put something out that's gonna knock their socks off. And as you're about to see, they hit it out of the park. So yes, it was frustrating that there was a delay, but fucking A, hats off to Frontier for getting it right in the end. 5 minutes and 20 seconds in, Stephen. There's a lot of information we're about to go over, but there will also be a content reveal recap over in the forums. There's a link in the show notes. 5 minutes and 30 seconds in. Stephen, warning, this is a hot build to demonstrate. Some of the details may be subject to change. 6 minutes in. Stephen, where can I buy a fleet carrier? Luke, so the fleet carriers are manufactured by the Brewer Corporation, the same manufacturer of the Coriolis starports. They have manufacturing locations near the central hubs of the superpowers and major industrial locations. There are like 12 or 13 locations where they will have fleet carrier dry docks. At this point, a picture came up on screen of a dry dock with a Coriolis in the background. 7 minutes and 20 seconds in. Stephen, these dry docks are to indicate where you can purchase fleet carriers. You can't necessarily interact with them, but they are outside these stations to let you know that that will be where there's a fleet carrier vendor. Luke, yeah, essentially that's the factory. You don't go to the factory to buy it, you go to the showroom to buy from one of the vendors. On the screen, there's a picture that comes up from Clark Port Coriolis Station in Imperial Space, showing in the Contacts tab a new sub-tab labeled Fleet Carrier Vendor. The tab description reads, fleet carriers are massive ships used as a mobile base of operations, offering multiple hangar bays and various services. You can purchase a carrier through this contact, who represents the Brewer Corporation. Then it says, carriers have a weekly upkeep cost, carriers are powered by tritium, and some management functions are available in designated carrier management systems only. So then they purchase a fleet carrier and a new screen cap pops up from the Brewer Corporation. Outstanding, Commander. On behalf of the Brewer Corporation, may we offer our sincerest congratulations. You are now the proud owner of a Drake class carrier. At the bottom right corner, you see your carrier is ready for service. Further details have been delivered to your inbox. Elanda, system name, with a button to view your carrier location. They click on that button at 8 minutes and 35 seconds in, and a screen cap comes up showing on system map where exactly in Elanda, the system, the carrier currently resides. Note, the system map shows two capital vessels, one located in orbit of the primary star before the asteroid belt, and the second with an additional indicator to represent that this is your fleet carrier in orbit of the third star in the system. I'm assuming at this point that the other capital vessel that is showing up now, which is not currently in the system map for Elanda, is the indicator for the dry dock where your fleet carrier was assembled. At 9 minutes 19 seconds, 9 minutes 24 seconds, and 9 minutes 41 seconds, there are screen caps of the fleet carrier from various angles. Steven, it's obviously huge. How many landing pads does it have? The answer is 16 landing pads, 8 large, 4 medium, and 4 small. 10 minutes and 3 seconds. Steven, so let's jump into what actually happens when you land on a fleet carrier. Then there's a screen cap of the landing screen. In the top left corner, it says connected to carrier name - Drake class carrier. Then an icon indicating that they are in Imperial space and that the words operational status normal. Below is the service tariff with the 3-digit percentage counter indicating 000%, and below that, fuel with a 3-digit percentage counter indicating 050%. Below that it says no route set. Then there are several tabs that are viewable for ship services. They are the Crew Lounge tab, the Redemption Officer tab, which is grayed out, the Tritium Depot, the Shipyard, which is grayed out, the Black Market, grayed out, the Commodities Market, and Carrier Management. Now I'm going to get to explaining all of these more in detail as we get to the proper sections for them. The right side of the screen shows pilot ident along with ARCs and credit balance. Below that is an indicator for your ship showing on the top left what landing pad you are on the bottom left the ship designation, bottom right the ship type, and above that 2 icons indicating your fuel status and the repair status of your ship. Below this, it says outfitting, and there are 4 buttons. The first button, the little turret icon, is for outfitting. Second button is for livery. The third is one button that has 3 icons together: rearm, repair, and refuel. And last, there is the remote engineering icon. 10 minutes and 5 seconds in. Steven. Ta-da! So this is the big reveal. So what you see here is the Fleet Carrier Services windows. Luke, this is similar to the Starport Services menu, but with a new graphical user interface. I gotta tell you guys, looking at this interface, it is amazeballs. It is super awesome. Everything is very intuitive. It is everything at a glance. I wish that this was the icon that we had at every starport because it's just so streamlined and intuitive. 10-minute and 20-second mark. Some of these buttons are grayed out. Why is that, Luke? So when you first buy the fleet carrier, it doesn't have all of the additional service because there are costs associated with buying all of the optional extras. You'll get the basics and you'll be able to use that however you see fit. So you've got the Crew Lounge, Tritium Depot, Commodities Market, and Carrier Management. At the 11-minute mark, Steven, this Tritium Depot, what is that? Luke, tritium is the fuel source for megaships including fleet carriers. You will use this to fuel your fleet carriers and other players' fleet carriers as well. There are a few places that are able to manufacture tritium for purchase, but the main place people will get this is through mining icy asteroids. Normally you get them from surface and subsurface deposit. All right, so let's unpack that. In my opinion, this is the first misstep of the fleet carrier project. I honestly think that they would have been so much better off if they had fleet carriers fueled through scooping something from gas giants or from using the asteroid belts that are found all over the place in the galaxy and to this moment have no practical use that I can think of. It would just be awesome. However, I have to make that statement with the caveat that I have no idea what is coming in the new era. For all I know, they have even more cool shit planned to do with those two sort of areas then, in which case I will be the first to tell you at that point, no, I was completely wrong back in the fleet carrier days. They did the right choice. So that's just something we're going to have to see on. But what we do know now is that every fleet carrier definitely going to have a nice little core miner ready to get surface and subsurface deposits so that they can fill up on that tritium. And after low temperature diamonds and void opals, we have more reasons to go back to icy asteroids. Now, we'll definitely need to look into it, but I cannot imagine that this is going to be harder to get than low temperature diamonds or void opals. So realistically, what I'm looking at here is it's going to take you an hour, maybe two, to gather up enough fuel so that you can jump your fleet carrier 500 light years, which all in all is not too shabby. It's not unattainable. It's not some ridiculous, horrific grind. This is something that can easily be done by one person and will be a breeze with two. And for the comfort that taking your very own floating city that you can completely control and customize to your liking, anyone that complains about this, all right, I got no time for you. And one final note for those people that might be saying, what? You can buy tritium from stations? Oh, they're going to try to sell us this with ARX. Frontier Development has already stated unequivocally that this fuel source will be either mined from asteroids or purchased for credits. It will have nothing to do with ARX. So jumping back in at the 12-minute 20-second mark, Steven. So let's take a look at the Fleet Carrier Management tab. And there's a screen capture of the Carrier Admin OS screen with the date and time, the Fleet Carrier Management in the top left. It's got the indication, then the Fleet Carrier name, then carrier balance, 0 credits. Weekly upkeep, 10 million credits. Capacity, 0.0K out of 25K units. Then the fuel indicator showing 50%. At the bottom it shows current system, Alanda, and no route set. Along the left side is a list of tabs. These are the summary, navigational panel, fleet carrier budget, which has the bank and upkeep costs as well as tariffs, the commodity trading panel, the crew tab, the secure storage, which is basically your fleet carrier's black market, the shipyard, outfitting, livery, settings, the pilot's handbook, and an exit fleet carrier admin OS button. 12 minutes and 54 seconds in. Steven, so will everyone see this? Luke, everyone will see some version of this, but guests will see a stripped down version. The full information is viewable only by the owner of the fleet carrier. At the 13-minute mark, there's a screen cap where it says capacity 25,000 units, 000% modules / ships 0 units, 000% markets. Parentheses, used space, close parentheses, 0 units, 000% markets, parentheses, allocated, close parentheses, 0 units, 000% installed services, 0 units, 100% free space, 25,000 units. Available services, commodity trading, Tritium Depot, standard, carrier security rating, Empire - welcome. Carrier administration, available in this star system. 13 minutes and 2 seconds in. Steven, so the first thing we want to look at is the summary. Can you tell us a little bit about this tab? Luke, so as you can see, you have the available services and the relationship with the local superpower. You can also see if you can make changes to the setup of the fleet carrier in the carrier administration indicator. But the biggest thing people are going to ask about on that screen is the 25,000 units. That is the capacity of what your fleet carrier can store. And that is broken down into storage of stuffs and services. Okay, boys and girls, so I've indicated it a few times from the screen caps, but now we're going to actually talk about it. This is where the first bomb drops from this announcement. Yes, fleet carriers have storage. They have a storage capacity of 25,000 units. You can store stuffs, or you can fill that space with all kinds of services, or you can do a myriad of different variations of combinations of those two sort of uses for your space. But this is huge. This is one of the two biggest, most requested things in the entire game. This literally changes the nature of the game Elite Dangerous forever. There have been many in the community that have said that fleet carriers would be a vanity item and of no real use in game. This one fact alone crushes that argument, but there's even more to come. Okay, so hopping back into it at the 14-minute and 20-second mark, Steven. And the other interesting thing there is the reputation with the superpower, Luke. Yeah, if you allow your carrier to facilitate things that the locals don't like, and the players around your fleet carrier get detected doing these things, the superpower is going to tell the local faction to send more security to patrol and watch your fleet carrier. At the 15-minute 10-second mark, there's a screen cap, navigation panel. This shows the current location, Tritium reserves, 500 out of 1,000 tons. Jump capacity, 500 light years. In the small print, it says you can select a destination from the galaxy or system map. Then there's a button to open the galaxy map. Steven, so the next important button opens the navigation panel. Dav, yes, this is where you issue orders to your bridge crew to travel to a location in the game, either a star system or a specific body within that star system. Okay, so let's go over what we've learned here. The first thing is that it appears that 1 ton of tritium gives you 1 light year jump capacity. You have a total fuel tank of 1,000 tons, so you have a total jump capacity of 1,000 light years, but no one jump can exceed 500 light years. So let's think about that for a moment. If you have 1,000 tons of tritium, you can jump 1,000 light years. We know that our ship has a storage capacity of 25,000 tons at most, in addition to the 1,000-ton fuel tank. Therefore, if you needed to make some emergency set of jumps and go, say, 6,000 light years in a hurry, if you had extra stored tritium in your regular storage or cargo, you could transfer that tritium 1,000 tons at a time into your tritium depot, thereby giving you a theoretical max range of 26,000 light years in 500 light year increments, 25,000 from storage and 1,000 from the tank. Ladies and gentlemen, Frontier Development gave these things the abilities to be runners if you need it and set it up that way. We also learned that you'll have the ability to jump not only to just a designated star system, but if you have knowledge of that system, you can jump and orbit a specific body in that system map. So you can jump right from icy ring to icy ring as you keep filling that tank up the most quick and efficient way possible. Or park it right on top of your favorite Haz-Res or mining spot. 16 minutes and 40 seconds in. Luke. Even if you're not online, these fleet carriers are still working, so they need a crew to manage them 24/7. 17 minutes and 2 seconds in, the screen cap of the budget panel. Carrier balance, 0 credits. 000% commodity trading, 0 credits. 000% secure warehouse, 0 credits. 000% weekly upkeep allocation, 0 credits. 000% available, 0 credits. Weekly upkeep allocation. In the fine print, it says you can reserve a percentage of the fleet carrier's balance to cover weekly upkeep payments, 000%. Weekly upkeep, 10 million credits. 100%. Core costs, 10 million credits. 000%. Optional cost, 0 credits, 3 services. 000%. Number of jumps, 0 credits, 0 jumps. Service tariff. The description text reads, apply a charge to all services cost, which is then added to the fleet carrier balance, 000%. FC banking. A description reads, transfer credits between your personal and fleet carrier accounts. And then there's a button for deposit and withdrawal. 17 minutes and 5 seconds in. Steven, there will be running costs to the FCs. Luke, yeah, this is the top end, so there are costs. The carrier has its own wallet. 18 minutes and 50 seconds in. Steven, what is that tariff? Dav, so if you set a tariff on your fleet carrier, any services used will charge that extra percent to provide those services. So if you refuel for 1,000 credits and the tariff is set to 20%, then the guest will be paying 1,200 credits with 1,000 going to the fuel, and the additional 200 credit will be deposited into the fleet carrier wallet to pay for upkeep. 20 minutes and 55 seconds in. Steven, what happens if I run out of money? Luke, if you don't have enough funds in your FC bank account, certain features won't work. And if you can't pay the upkeep costs, you will go into debt, which you will then need to pay back. All right, commanders, let's unpack everything that we just learned. First off, there is some sort of a way that they hold money aside to cover your purchase orders, whether they be in the regular commodity market or the player-controlled black market. Secondly, the upkeep costs for fleet carriers are charged weekly, one would presume, on the tick. Thirdly, there is a mechanism for auto-paying that weekly upkeep cost, so you don't really have to mess with it. Fourth, that the weekly upkeep cost for a basic fleet carrier is 10 million credits. Fifth, that the basic carrier includes the 3 core services. Sixth, that there is some additional nominal fee that you pay per jump. Seventh, that the tariff is set as a global charge against all services. Eighth, that there is an easy mechanism for transferring money between your private account and the carrier's private account. And finally, ninth, that they don't want to take your carrier away from you. They could have very easily set it up that if the carrier balance hits 0, it's automatically lost. But they set this up that if your carrier balance hits 0 or you go into debt, that some of the stuff is suspended and that you have to make some arrangements to get it back, i.e., this is not set up to take your stuff away from you if you're trying to keep it. This is set up so that if people quit the game and haven't logged in for 5 years, that they're not clogging up the galaxy for active players with a bunch of fleet carriers for people who haven't played the game in years. Now, I know there's some people out there from the time that this was first leaked to PC Gamer magazine that have tried to drum up some groundswell of outrage to turn into a tsunami against Frontier developments. But people, come on. Who are we kidding here? 10 million credits a week for the upkeep cost is a joke. This is basically a gift. If you are a player who's gotten to the point where you've amassed over 5 billion credits to make a single purchase, then you're the kind of player that knows how to get 10 million credits in under 20 minutes of grinding for cash. Easily. This is a joke. Now, this is a basic carrier, so don't expect that it's going to be 10 million credits. I would say probably to fully trick one out, you're going to spend maybe 15 to 20, maybe at the outside, 30 million credits. Okay? If that's the case, and I don't even think it's going to go that high, but let's say it's 22, 23. Let's just be crazy and say, okay, they're going to charge 30 million credits for the fully tricked out fleet carrier. That's a joke. The price I have to pay to have my own floating city in space that can do anything I've ever wanted pretty much is I have to work for 20 minutes a week-ish. Yeah, if this is what's breaking your back, don't buy a fleet carrier. That's not for you. So at the moment, I'm sitting on a little over 25 billion credits. I just whipped out my calculator and did the math. So at the 10 million credit a week allocation, I would have 2,500 weeks or 48.08 years. I could not log in for 48 years and still I would have a fleet carrier there. So yeah, outraged people, relax. Also, this isn't even taking into account whatever I'm going to earn from having this fleet carrier, or the tariffs, or anything else that I haven't yet got my head all the way around. And that would be assuming that I don't even log in and earn any credits at all. MMO players out there, ask yourself, is this not a very gentle way of doing this? I played Final Fantasy XIV for years. And in that game, if you don't log in every 30 days and visit your house, it can be demolished. You lose it forever. This is way more accommodating. As I record this, there are a million busy little beavers at Baran just out there grinding to get their bank balance from, 1.2 billion to 5 billion, which they're going to accomplish easily between now and June, so that they can get their fleet carried. This rate of accumulation of wealth is possible in this game, which means that covering this piddly little cost for a decade will be an easily achievable goal for your average player inside of a month. TLDR, it's a non-factor. Moving on. So at 22 minutes and 41 seconds, there's the screen cap of the commodity trading panel. It shows total inventory value equals 0. The credit value of all commodities stocked at this fleet carrier. Number of commodities types equals 0. Capacity allocation equals 0. All-time trade profit equals 0 credits. Profit trend, parentheses, last 8 weeks, with a line graph for that period, and a manage market but. 22 minutes and 41 seconds in. Luke, the next core service that is always available is the commodity trading panel. This is good. This is new. This is something we have never done before. This allows you to request at your fleet carrier certain commodities at a specified price, and NPCs don't do that. Other players fulfill that order. That's player-to-player trading. Steven, that's exciting. Player-to-player trading. Dav, absolutely. Player-to-player trading. So the way the commodity market works is a little different to NPC markets. The player who controls the fleet carrier will issue a purchase order for a specific commodity at a specific price, and as soon as you issue a purchase order, we will reserve that amount of credits and that amount of cargo capacity to cover that trade once a visitor executes the trade. Likewise, if you have a surplus of commodities in your storage capacity, you can list them for sale at a price you set. The one thing that fleet carriers don't support is the idea of a dumping price. So the only things that could be bought or sold through a carrier commodity market are those the owner specifically issues their own buy or sell orders for. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the exact moment that the game of Elite Dangerous changed forever. Let that sink in. We now have free markets to trade with each other, which means we can trade money for goods, we can trade money for services. This game will never be the same. People were saying fleet carriers are just going to be a vanity item. This entire game just changed. We are now at the precipice of a journey that could take us down the road of EVE-like markets. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Not all of this is going to be good. This will open up the door to some unscrupulous individuals engaging in RMT. But that is such a small drop in the bucket compared to the vast amount of freedoms that this will bring and the vast amount of varied gameplay that this will bring. Almost every MMO that you can think of has the ability to transfer money from one player to another. So if you create an alt account and you want to just throw, a billion credits to it so that you can get it started and not even have to mess with that or worry about that and get right to grinding your engineer unlocks and your reputation or whatever it is that you want to do with that, you can do it. Likewise, if you're a group of little Care Bears with your own private player faction and you want to, deal with some gankers that are harassing you and keep blowing up your people, and you don't want to be pushed into solo mode, who's to say you couldn't pay a Merc Corp to come in and hunt down those people that have been hunting you. You have them kill those guys over and over and over until they bugger off and leave you alone. And then you turn around and buy a ton of bio-waste off of them for 1 billion credits, effectively paying off a contract for their services. Maybe you're in the middle of an election with some other group and you decide you want to pay them off and they decide they want to take it and move to somewhere else. Again, you sell them a couple of tons of bio-waste for a few billion. Or you're an explorer who finds an awesome Earth-like ringed world and then sells that to a customer so that he can get the mapping credit on it, put his name on it, and come back at some point in the future and put a nice little base on his very own awesome ringed Earth-like world. Maybe you're in the middle of a close war and you want to pay off some otherwise uninterested third parties to come in and harass your opponents, thereby giving you that tactical advantage. Maybe you want to promote some new race and you want to include a 10 billion credit prize pool. Maybe you're talking smack one-on-one with a buddy over a game of CQC and you decide you want to put a few billion credits on it, see if he puts his money where his mouth is. All of this and a million more things that I don't have the time to explain or don't have the intelligence to even dream up yet. The point is, we commanders, for the first time in the history of Elite Dangerous, will have the power to create our own markets, determine value for ourselves, and to buy not only goods, but services for what we feel is a fair price. This will lead to so many opportunities for meaningful gameplay within the EULA that I'm just amazed and totally ready for this. And for those that doubted the Brucey bonus, this is proof the man was not lying. All right, so getting back to it. At 22 minutes and 35 seconds in, there's a screen cap of a purchase order where you can manage chemicals category dash liquid oxygen, the commodity. There's a box to tick, trade this commodity, and then you can choose to either buy or sell. At the bottom of the screen, it shows carrier balance at 4.2 billion credits and carrier capacity at 1 out of 25,000. Then there's a cancel or apply button. At 24 minutes 53 seconds, there's a screen cap of the crew panel. All fleet carriers are staffed by a crew. This service represents the personnel who lead them. This service is active. Operational expenses equals 0 credit per week. Capacity allocated equals 0 units. Deck officer with a picture. Fred Bloggs with a button to replace him. Core services are always active. Commodity trading officer tab. There's a tritium depot officer tab. A refuel station officer, a repair crew officer, an armory officer, a redemption officer, a shipyard officer, a outfitting officer, and a secure warehouse officer. 24 minutes and 53 seconds in. Luke. Yeah, so this is where you hire your new crew and fit new services. So anything that you wanted to do with your fleet carrier that you might have seen in a starport menu, this is where you would add it and fit those services to enable your carrier to do those things. Steven. So since this is a demo, we'll go through and buy all the services, but obviously earlier when we said that there is a 25,000 units of capacity, it might not be a good idea to purchase all of these services for your carrier. 25 minutes and 40 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the Purchase Refuel Station Services tab. Refuel Station. The description is, dock ships may refuel while this service is active. This service is not active. Upfront facility cost, 50 million credits. Operational expenses, active, 2.5 million credits per week. Suspended, 250,000 credits per week. Capacity required, 500 units. Install facility button, cost, 50 million credits. At 25 minutes and 54 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the Redemption Officer tab. With a description, grants the opportunity to redeem outstanding vouchers or combat bonds. This service is currently suspended. Operational expenses, active 2.5 million per week. Suspended 250,000 per week. Capacity required 50 units. Office liaison, Riley Freeman with a picture. Button to replace Riley Freeman. Button to resume service. Button to uninstall facility. 25 minutes and 57 seconds in, screen cap of the Tritium Depot Officer tab. Description: managed donations of tritium, which is used to power the fleet carrier. This service is active. Operational expenses equals 0 credits per week. Capacity allocated equals 0 units. Tritium dealer. Anti-glass with a picture. Replace anti-glass button. Core services are always active. At 26 minutes in, Luke. Basically, things that you can think of doing at a normal starport are now available for you in a completely player-controlled way. Alright, so let's go over what we've just learned. So first off, the 3 core services that are always available for free, or not really for free, but included in the base 10 million credit operating weekly cost for your fleet carrier is the crew tab, the Tritium Depot, which is your fuel tank, and the commodity market. The other services that you would have to staff and pay for extra would be the refuel, repair, armory, redemption, shipyard, outfitting, and secure warehouse. So that's a grand total of 7 optional services that you can add to the fleet carrier. We see for 2 of them, they both have a cost of 50 million credits to obtain up front and 2.5 million credits per week if active, 250,000 or 1/10 of that if suspended. So 7 services at an upfront purchase price of 50 million means if you wanted to buy all 7 services, it would cost you 350 million credits up front, and 2.5 million a week times 7 means that if you wanted to keep all of those services active, you would pay 17.5 million extra a week. Added to the 10 million base means that at most, if you wanted everything you could possibly get, you would be paying 27.5 million credits per week if you kept it active, and less so by 90% for each if you wanted to have those activities suspended. Once again, these are in no way onerous. This is a pittance for anybody that can afford to purchase a flying city in space. Likewise, it would seem that purchasing each of these 7 optional facilities at 500 units of capacity required would take 3,500 units of your capacity out of 25,000. So that would leave you with 22,500 units of capacity. At 26 minutes and 30 seconds in, Steven, there's a lot of things, but with these things are operating costs. What happens if I'm not going to be using these and I wish to suspend them or get rid of them entirely? Luke, so the carrier administration service granted by the proper starports to all fleet carriers within their star system allow you to not only buy those services, but also return them. But if you don't want to get rid of a service entirely, you can also have the option to suspend the services, and that keeps the crew for those services on board, but chillaxing. And this greatly reduces the amount of operating costs while the services are suspended. 27 minutes and 54 seconds. Steven, because we've just gone through and purchased all those services, we're going to go through and show off some of those additional services that you can purchase. The first one that we've got is secure trading. 28 minutes and 5 seconds in, there's a screen cap of secure trading panel. Secure trading. Total stolen goods value equals 0 credits. The description says the credit value of stolen goods stored at this fleet carrier. Number of commodity types equals 0. Capacity allocation equals 0. Carrier security rating. Empire - welcome. Security trading sales trend, parentheses, last 8 weeks with a line graph, and a manage secure warehouse button. 28 minutes and 5 seconds. Steven, so this is an interesting one as it looks like the commodities market. So what's the difference? Luke, this is another new thing. It's almost an exact copy of the commodity market, but with an important caveat. It's for buying and selling stolen goods. All right, let's look at this one briefly. For all you Han Solo wannabes out there, you can set up your own smuggling fleet carrier. You can have people come in and sell you stolen goods and jump that to some out-of-the-way little spot where you want to fence your stuff, and then you can load it up in your little smuggling ship and zip on in to home base to sell it all. Bearing in mind that he said that this is like the commodities market, meaning this is how you obtain stolen goods, which you specifically put in purchase orders from other players for, I've got no interest in this one. I'm going to save some money and capacity and leave this one out of my carrier. Bearing in mind that I've still got my cargo capacity, so I can hold all of my own illegally obtained cargo until I figure out the right spot to sell it. But I dig that they gave this as an option for those people that are interested in that. Different strokes for different folks, man. Blaze your own trail, even if it's in a life of crime. At 30 minutes and 17 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the shipyard. Shipyard stock. Cargo, advanced, tier 1 of 1. Lakon Spaceways. Type 6, 5 out of 5 units. Type 7, 4 out of 4 units. Type 9, 3 out of 3 units. Capacity required, 10,135. Then there's a purchase stock button for 304,786,000 and change credits. The other tabs visible on screen include Cargo, Basic, Zorgon Peterson. Combat, Basic, Core Dynamic. Combat Trader, Lakon. Explorer, Lakon. Multi-Role Advanced, Falcon DeLacy. And then there's one more that you can just barely read, multi-role, and then the screen cuts off so you can't see what the rest of that button says. The scroll bar on the side indicates that you're basically able to see 4/5 of the total options showing on this screen. 30 minutes, 15 seconds in. Steven. So we're also having a shipyard. So the ability to buy stocks of ships, which we can then offer. Is that correct? Luke. Yeah, your capacity tend to go away very quickly then. Dav. These are subject to the same tariffs we discussed earlier. 31 minutes and 24 seconds in, there's a screen cap upon purchasing the Cargo Advanced Ship Pack. Same as before, but now there's a check mark on that pack on the left-hand side, and there is an option to sell the stock for 90.3 million credits at a 205 million credit or 70% loss. Or refill the stock, which would be a fast button to refill up the complete pack stock level. All right, so what did we learn there? Seems fairly straightforward. You can get a shipyard with the addition of the basic shipyard services of having your ships shipped to the fleet carrier. You can also pre-purchase packs of similarly themed ships for the purpose of having them on offer for resale to guests at your fleet carrier, and that you would charge a tax for the sale of those ships. We learned that you definitely don't want to return any of that stock because you take a massive loss on the transaction. And we learned that Luke is a master of understatement when he says that you will go through your storage capacity fairly quickly. This one pack of the Cargo Advanced Tier 1, which includes 5 Type 6s, 4 Type 7s, and 3 Type 9s, uses up almost half of your total capacity for the carrier. Although, to be fair, if you're sort of building in a showroom for a dozen massive cargo haulers, I guess it's pretty fair to say that would use up a lot of space. At 31 minutes and 42 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the Outfitting tab. It says, Outfitting Stock. Defensive Enhancements, Tier 1 of 3. Shield Boosters, 50 out of 50 units. Hull Reinforcement Package, Class 1, 40 out of 40 units. Class 2, 30 out of 30 units. Class 3, 20 out of 20 units. Class 4, 10 out of 10 units. Class 5, 5 out of 5 units. Life support classes 1 through 4 showing just at the bottom of the screen without the full row. Capacity required, 3,015. Purchase stock, 118 million credits. At 32 minutes and 31 seconds in, screen cap of the exact same screen after the purchase showing all the same details except for there's a sell stock button for 11.271 million credits for a loss of 107 million credits or 90%. and a auto refill stock pack button, with the other tabs showing analytical devices, cargo racks, countermeasures, energy weaponry, explosive weaponry, fuel management, and the scroll bar indicates that this is approximately between a third and a fourth of the options available showing on the screen. 31 minutes and 44 seconds in. Steven. So to go along with that, we also have the outfitting stock. Luke. Yes, and there's a lot of modules. You won't get to select them entirely, but you can select packs of the sort of types of modules that you want your crew to make available for you. There's quite a long breakdown of option. Dav. It's by theme and by quality as well. Then at 32 minutes and 2 seconds, there's a screen cap of the outfitting tab again. Outfitting stock. This time, defensive enhancements, tier 3 of 3. Shield boosters, 60 out of 60 units. Hull reinforcement package, class 1, 35 out of 35 units. Class 2, 30 out of 30 units. Class 3, 25 out of 25 units. Class 4, 20 out of 20 units. Class 5, 15 out of 15 units. Life support classes 1 through 4 showing just at the bottom without the full row. Capacity required, 3105. Purchase stock, 744.784 million credits. 32 minutes and 15 seconds. Luke. Yeah, so as you can see here at the top, it says that this is the tier 3 of 3. So of that pack, this is the highest quality and the largest amount on offer. So you can customize the packs you buy and either sort of sell to newer players and hang around the sort of newer player areas of the galaxy, or you can go long distance and take the really expensive stuff. All right, let's unpack this. This is basically the same model that you saw above with the shipyard. What this also shows is that with the different tiers, how they sort of work. So you saw that when you had the tier 1 of 3 of the defensive enhancements, it was focused more on the lower level units and a lower number of them overall. And then the tier 3 of 3 had both a higher overall number and the spread was aimed sort of more towards the higher class of the module. All right, so this is sort of a recap that for me works for the shipyard and the outfitting options both. I will absolutely have both of these options on my ship. And as it stands now, I cannot imagine a single reason why I would be buying any of the ships from the shipyards or any of the modules from the module stock. Simply having the services will allow me to ship ships to my fleet carrier and do all of the sort of moving stuff around that I need to with regard to that. And having the outfitting service will allow me to move my modules however I see fit and store some already engineered module that I may have specialized use for. As it stands now, I have absolutely no interest in being a wandering vendor to randos. I may at some point in the future buy a pack of maybe each just to have loaners for friends who may be visiting and need like hauler or something, but maybe not because they really both seem to eat through your capacity very, very quickly. But for those of you who see this as exciting to go out there and sell stuff for a massive profit on your tariffs or whatever, hey man, knock yourself out. Have fun with that. At 32 minutes and 45 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the livery panel. Livery. Description. Change the visual appearance of your fleet carrier. Personalize it to reflect your own style. Fleet carrier livery button with an icon of a fleet carrier and the arc symbol. 32 minutes and 40 seconds in, Steven. And the next thing that we can do is, just like most ships, we also have a livery option. So like we said, we've got a lot of different options, just like with your ships. We've got different paint jobs. We've got some different layouts you can choose from. You can choose like the engine colors and things like that, which is really cool. So you can do basically the same customization that we have for ships but just on a larger scale. Dab. I mean, not every paint job would be appropriate for a fleet carrier. Luke. No, they've got their own. Editor's note. I would give all of the money that I have if my ship could look like the Destiny from Stargate Universe or a Vorlon ship. Wait, no. One of the MCRN ships from The Expanse. Final answer. All right, at 33 minutes and 45 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the settings panel. It says, Settings, Docking Access. The description says, use these options to define access requirements for your fleet carrier. There's a pull-down menu that shows the options are all, friends, squad, friends and squad, or none at 34 minutes and 9 seconds. Notorious Commander Access. The description says, choose whether Notorious pilots are permitted to dock with your fleet carrier. There's a pull-down menu. The options are not allowed or allowed at 35 minutes and 20 seconds. Then it says set current activity. The description says this selects the fleet carrier's activity icon for the station services screen and the nav panel. Pull-down menu options include default, anti-Xeno, mercenary, bounty hunter, explorer, piracy, search and rescue, salvage, mining, trader, and smuggler. The screen cap was for 35 minutes and 56 seconds. Then at the bottom it says decommission fleet carrier. The description says decommission your fleet carrier. The carrier will be removed from service after a week with a percentage of its cost refunded. And then there's a big warning tab. And then there's a button to decommission your fleet carrier. At 33 minutes and 40 seconds in, Stephen. And very importantly, we also have the settings panel. Because with all the fleet carriers can do, it's important that we give the players the ability to really control all of it. Luke. Yeah, so the main things are you can control docking access, allowing all, squad only, friends only, squad and friends, or none, which means only you have access to your carrier. At 35 minutes and 15 seconds, Luke. Next up, you've got the Notorious Commander Access option. So if you don't like PvPers and you don't want them on your fleet carrier, you can set that option. At 35 minutes and 50 seconds, Stephen. Next up is one of my favorite features. You can set the activity of your fleet carrier so it displays it so that everyone sees what you're all about. You can choose anti-Xeno, mercenary, bounty hunter, explorer, piracy, search and rescue, salvage, mining, trader, or smuggler. So on the menu, when people land, they will see a big banner on the fleet carrier services menu, and on the left-hand side of the nav panel, people will see what the theme for your fleet carrier is. At 37 minutes and 13 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the Decommissioned Fleet Carrier panel. Decommissioned Fleet Carrier. The description says, are you sure you want to decommission your fleet carrier? Refund value, 4.305 billion credits. Note, the refunded credits will be delivered following the fleet carrier's removal from service. Scheduled decommission. Time until decommission, 7.6 days. Note, you have the option to cancel a decommission request during this period. The fleet carrier will continue to offer docking access until decommissioned. Stored ships. 0 ships owned by you, 0 ships owned by other commanders. Note, the ships stored at this fleet carrier will remain available for transfer once the carrier has been decommissioned. Decommission fleet carrier button. 37 minutes and 10 seconds. So the last option is very important, and this is called decommissioning a fleet carrier. What does this mean? Luke. So there's a lot of things that you can do with the fleet carrier, but there are also a lot of things that other people can do with your fleet carrier if you let them. They can store their modules on it, they can store their ships on it if the outfitting and shipyard services are enabled. As the owner of the fleet carrier, you can store a whole bunch of commodities on it, and you'll have all of your services and all of the stock for those services fitted into the fleet carrier as well. But should you decide for any reason that you don't want to keep up with all that, Just hit the decommission button and we'll give you a little time to make sure that this is what you really want to do, because it's a big investment and you're only getting back a portion of your investment. This is your option to do that. The time period is set to be 1 full week minimum and then occur on the next server maintenance tick. So it would be anywhere from 7.1 to 13.9 days from when you choose the decommission option that the event will occur. And at that time, it will basically become an immobile fleet carrier that players can pull their stuff off for free. Steven, that's really important that players know they can get their stuff off if they happen to have it on a fleet carrier that someone decommissions. They won't lose their stuff. All right, so let's go over this. If you do choose to decommission your fleet carrier, you basically get a cooldown period where you can think it over, anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how long from the tick you are when you make the decision and hit the button. And once your fleet carrier is decommissioned, it doesn't just poof away. It's still there for players to get their stuff off of. You just can't use it or control it anymore. You can control it for the interim period somewhat. You have access to some of the abilities and services, but once it's fully decommissioned, it's still there for everyone to get their stuff off for free. And again, I'm going to say this for like the 5th time, but since you could basically do a week's worth of work to grind out the upkeep costs for the next couple of decades, don't really see this being a factor. At 39 minutes and 20 seconds in, Steven. So now that we've gone through the whole fleet carrier service bit, let's see what effect this actually has on our fleet carrier and what has changed from the beginning, because now we haven't unlocked everything. We've just thrown a wee bit of commodities. We've bought a shipyard pack and some modules, so let's see what it looks like. Dav. Before we move away though, it's worth mentioning that while we're covering a lot of things, there's a lot that we aren't touching because there's just so much on the subject. We spent quite a bit of time detailing all of it, and it's all within the player's handbook. We're skipping over a lot of stuff here, but all of it is in that handbook, and it will also be in our forum thread linked in this video. At 40 minutes and 50 seconds, there's a screen cap of the landing screen, fleet carrier owner variant. Same as before, but now nothing is grayed out except the remote engineering tab, and the banner background across the top left side shows a bounty hunting motif. Also, under the shipyard tab, it now says 0 stored ships, 3 available ships. This represents the ship pack that you bought earlier, so it's Type 6, Type 7, and Type 9 are the 3 available ships there. 40 minutes and 50 seconds. Steven. So let's jump in and see what's changed on the new menu. You can see now that the options that were grayed out before are now highlighted, so we can go ahead and use them. So things like the redemption office. So could you tell us what the redemption office is? Luke. Yeah, that's another new thing. So if you know what the interstellar factor is, it is probably going to make a lot more sense. The redemption office allows you to hand in any vouchers, bonds, or any sort of transient labels that you can get money out of. And yes, they take a cut, but some of that cut goes to the owner of the fleet carrier and the rest goes to you. And it's just so convenient to be able to do anything you need to anywhere in the galaxy. Dav. From the point of view of the guests, you do pay a premium for this convenience, just like interstellar factors. Editor's note. This thing is just amazingly convenient, and I wish they would put it on every starport. A one-button option to not even have to deal with it, just cash in everything. Also, since universal cartographics were never mentioned at once in this presentation, and since they explicitly just stated that the redemption office lets you cash in every possible thing for money, it would seem that this one service provides cartographic data, bounties, combat bonds, data payouts. Hell, you might even be able to cash in your power play paycheck with this dude. Talk about one-stop shopping. 42 minutes, 30 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the shipyard panel. Just like in the station, it shows 3 tabs along the top: the shipyard, stored ships, and ship transfer options. indicating that they bought the 3-ship pack and have no stored ships on the fleet carrier at this time. 42 minutes and 30 seconds. Stephen. So this is the shipyard, and there is a limited number of stock now for purchase, unlike in a starport. Dav. Yes, that's right. Unlike in a starport shipyard, you are limited not only in the type of ships available for sale, but also in the finite number of ships the fleet carrier owner bought and has remaining in stock. These ships can be purchased for the stock price they paid for it plus whatever tariff they charge. When the owner is the one shopping, no tariff is charged. But other than that, it's a fully functional shipyard, so you can buy a ship, you can part exchange it, you can store ships, you can transfer ships. Luke. And you don't have to micromanage the part exchange stuff. The crew will handle all of that for you. Editor's note. The term part exchange would mean if I fly up in an adder and want to buy a T9 and I use my adder as part of the payment, I would sell the adder to the shipyard in addition to my cash for the difference to relinquish the adder and the cash and obtain a T9. So I take it to mean that in this hypothetical situation, the trade-in adder will magically be sold by the crew off camera, and the full price of the T9 will appear in my FC wallet, and the T9 will be depleted from the stocks just exactly like any other direct cash sale. 43 minutes and 29 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the outfitting screen. Looks exactly like the Station Services one, but with less stock, and the fleet carrier themed background image. 43 minutes and 29 seconds. Stephen. And similarly, we have bought some stock of modules that we would like to sell in our carrier. Same mechanism, same outfitting interface. You can still part exchange, store modules, sell modules, and get a default if it's a core module. But other than that, the only stock that you can choose from is the finite stock provided by the owner of the carrier. So if you're interested in mining, get a mining module pack, or combat packs if that's what you're into. At the 44-minute, 24-second mark, there's a screen cap of the commodities market. It says, Commodities Market, Drake Class Carrier, Economy, Private Enterprise. There's a buy button, there's a sell button. Buy orders are up for metal-silver at 5 credits per, with a demand of 182, and mineral-indite at 3,924 credits per, with a demand of 10. Now, other than the reduced options for sale, it looks like a fairly standard commodities market. 44 minutes and 24 seconds. Stephen. The next part we have is the commodities market. Dav. Yes, this is the same market from the viewpoint of the commander visiting the market, except that when you look at the buy-sell tabs, you will only see on offer the specific contracts put up by the fleet carrier owner. This includes the demand number for each. Once that demand is met, there will be no more buy or sell options until another order is generated by the owner. Also note, there are no tariffs on the commodities market. That price is explicit. 45 minutes and 11 seconds. There's a screen cap of the fleet carrier inventory screen. It is labeled Inventory. Transfer Cargo. It shows your ship on the left with the capacity of 90 out of 348 tons, and the fleet carrier on the right with the capacity of 18,792 out of 25,000 tons. Then it shows down the middle a list of all items in each of the cargo holds. By clicking the item icon on the left or the right side, you can select the item to transfer one way or the other. Also, underneath each respective ship, there is a Transfer All button to completely unload a ship into the fleet carrier with one click of a button, or completely unload the fleet carrier into the ship, provided that the ship has the available cargo capacity. The items listed are bauxite mineral, bio-waste trade good, palladium metal, tritium fuel/trade good, indite mineral, and silver metal, indicating decisively that all manner of items can be stored in a fleet carrier and transferred back and forth at the choosing of the owner. There is no room for interpretation here. There's no other way you can look at it. All of these different types of items can be stored and removed at your leisure. This isn't hinting at storage. This is absolutely directly showing storage is in the game now. And once again, fleet carriers rock the whole game of Elite Dangerous. You all don't need me to explain this any further. You know exactly what this means. 4510, Steven. One of the things I noticed earlier is it looks a little bit empty. And one of the things we mentioned earlier was trading. Luke. So this is again, more new stuff. We may have heard some of you wanted some storage. Ta-da! We give you fleet carriers. Essentially, 25,000 tons of storage space capacity. Essentially, if you wanted to use it just for that. Or if you wish to give up a little of it to fit other things, that's entirely up to you. DAV. It's important to note that you cannot transfer every single type of item for gameplay reasons. For example, you cannot store power play items, but the majority of the items are now storable in your fleet carriers. 46 minutes and 15 seconds in. Steven. So if we go back to the landing screen, we can see here that we had previously purchased 3 separate services, and now we have advanced maintenance services, rearm, repair, and refuel. At 46 minutes and 31 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the new graphic user interface for advanced maintenance. It's titled Advanced Maintenance. Repair or restock individual components. Your balance is in the top right corner. Along the left are a series of tabs. There's a cube icon, which is structural repairs. A hexagon icon with a light center, internal repairs. A hexagon icon with a light outer area, external repairs. A bullet icon, restock hardpoints. An SRV icon to reload SRVs. An SLF icon to reload SLFs. A limpet icon to reload limpets. A droplet icon for refueling. And along the bottom are buttons. The center is the schematic for the ship, along with the series of icons to indicate the status of various parts of the ship. Cockpit 100%, ship integrity 98%, hull 100%, paintwork 98%, cargo hatch 100%. The buttons along the bottom are to quick fix, cockpit, ship integrity, hull, paintwork, and cargo hatch, and all of the items described as 100% in the schematic above are grayed out, indicating that there is no work to do. At the very bottom, there's a bar button indicating Repair All for 16,547 credits. 46 minutes and 35 seconds. Steven. So this is the new interface where you can go in to repair all or certain parts of the ship, and it's all laid out super well, so it's very easy to use. You can also refuel or rearm. DAV. Absolutely. So this is essentially the same interface that you have seen before, with all the same access to accomplish these tasks, but with a much better graphical user interface layout. It makes it much more easy to use and intuitive. I really like the polish that our UI team have been able to bring to this feature. All right, so let's talk about this. First off, the only thing that I can criticize here is that it's stupid to call it paintwork. It should be paint job, because that's what it is, a paint job. Other than that, this thing is a 100% home run. It was literally boring reading out the list of the icons and what they meant, because they were all 100% exactly what you see is what you get. And the fact that you can see it all in one glance, and there's a fix all button at the bottom and specific breakouts if you only want to fix one thing or another. This thing is just perfect. I wish to God they would put this on the menu for all of the starports, because it is vastly superior to the current system. Bravo. Just fix Paintworks, because that's dumb. At 47 minutes and 57 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the right-hand panel home screen. This is exactly the same as what you see right now when you look in your right-hand panel when you're flying your ship, except that there is now a button in the center row between Codex and the squadrons labeled Carrier Management with a capital ship icon. Editor's note, funny thing is, the dev account with 17 billion credits has a trade rank of mostly penniless, and all the other ranks are at 0. No great mystery there, just made me chuckle. 47 minutes and 43 seconds. Steven. I think one of the things I would really worry about is the ability to control the fleet carrier remotely. Luke. Yeah, so we've added a tab in the right-hand panel that takes you right to the full fleet carrier control menu, allowing full control of the fleet carrier from anywhere in the galaxy. 48 minutes, 50 seconds in. Steven. So the thing is, we went through all this stuff and it's barely the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more to these. One of my favorite things, and the thing I was most excited to see, was to actually see it jump. It proceeds to play from 49 minutes and 20 seconds to 50 minutes. A video of the fleet carrier jump. 50 minutes and 20 seconds. Steven. There's a lot to these jumps. It takes an hour build-up period and has an hour cooldown period for every jump. And during the build-up, there are lots of cool audio cues and such warning people to secure for jump and so forth. Dav. Yes. In the windup, there's a system message that goes forth telling people to stand clear, as well as notification of when it's going to depart and where it's going to be going, and so on and so forth. So there it is, folks. It's an hour to wind it up and an hour to wind it down. So the minimum time between jumps is 2 hours. At 52 minutes and 28 seconds, Steven. So we're going to be having 2 betas for the fleet carriers. The first is PC only and will take place on April 7th, and the second is on all platforms and will take place in May. If you can't afford a fleet carrier for the beta, don't worry about it. We need people to test them. As owners and as guests, fleet carriers are scheduled to be launched in June. So while they did not explicitly say it, they hinted at it very strongly that they're basically going to make fleet carriers free for the beta. Either it's going to be a ridiculously low amount of money or, like when they did engineering, get it for a fish or I don't know, something. But they want us all to test these, so they're going to make them very, very obtainable for everyone who's interested. And they want us to go out there and play with them and complain about what we don't like and rave about what we do like and give them feedback about where there are problems, and whatever it is that we can break, they can fix it and get it right so that it's polished and good to go for June. At the 54-minute mark, there was a sort of little wrap-up video that was to hype the betas, calling all commanders. In it, there were several audio cues that if you play carefully, you can make out. There was a female voice saying, "Attention, final carrier jump sequence warning." There was a male voice saying, "Carrier jump sequence initiated." There was a second male voice saying, "This carrier is about to engage frameshift drive." And the video footage very clearly shows the fleet carrier landing pads de-elevating. That concluded the video stream. All right, so next I'm going to give you my list of explicit questions from watching this stream. Bear in mind that with a lot of these questions, I might be 80 to 90% sure that I know what the answer is, but I want it explicitly stated. So these are the things that come to mind. Number 1, is jump fuel tank in any way customizable? Or can we give up other modules/storage to get a larger tank for more range? Number 2, is jump fuel usage at all tied to the weight of the carrier at the time, i.e., will more services/storage being used lead to a heavier jump ship costing more fuel tons per light year jump, or is it fixed at 1 ton of tritium per light year for the fleet carrier regardless of its current mass status? I'm 90% sure the answer to question number 1 is going to be that while you cannot modify the fuel tank, can store 25 tons, your total cargo, of tritium and the 1 ton that's in the built-in tank to give you a max range of 26,000 light years if you're operating with total storage capacity being used for fuel only. And I'm fairly sure that the answer to number 2 is yes, it is a flat, fixed 1 ton of tritium equals 1 light year jump. Question number 3, please advise what exactly are the management functions that are available in designated carrier management systems only, from on-screen capture 7 minutes and 50 seconds in. Obviously, this video mentions purchasing and returning a fleet carrier, as well as purchasing or returning these services, but are there others? Honestly, I don't know the answer to this question. I'm 50-50 that it's just for purchasing and returning, I hope to God that it does not include having to be in one of these systems for putting the crew on layoff and then reactivating them. Question number 4. What is the significance of the designation Drake-class carrier? Are there other classes? If so, what are they? Number 5. At 8 minutes and 35 seconds in, there's a screen cap of the system map that shows 2 capital vessels, one located in orbit of the primary star before the asteroid belt, and a second with an additional indicator to represent that it is your fleet carrier in orbit of the third star in the system. Is the other capital vessel in orbit of the primary the Brewer Construction Dry Dock, or is it something else? All right, so for question number 4, I'm 90% sure that the Drake class is just the only thing that we're going to get right now. There may be future different classes, but I don't think there's anything on the drawing board just yet. And for question 5, I'm 90% sure that the second capital vessel showing was the Dry Dock. Number 6, the Calling All Commanders video clearly shows the landing pads de-elevating. When landing on a fleet carrier, does your ship remain on the landing pad outer surface, or does it elevator down into the ship? If so, is that pad then free for another ship to dock at? If so, what is the limit of ships that can be stored within the fleet carrier? If not, we were previously told that fleet carriers are indestructible. Presuming that they still are, would that status extend to the ships on the landing pad outside of the fleet carrier while they are docked? Also, are those ships at any risk during fleet carrier jump operations? I have no clue as to the answers of these. These ones we'll have to wait and see what they say. Question number 7, can you hire SLF pilots as a guest or as the owner from the crew lounge? It's not explicitly stated, but based on the fact that there's pictures of SLFs on it, I'm going to go ahead and guess that you can. Question number 8. Can cartographic data be redeemed through the redemption office as well as other vouchers? The answer to that, I think, is yes. Can power play paychecks also be redeemed there? This one, I'd say probably yes, but it doesn't really matter that much. Question 10. Is the service tariff indicated at 000% global, or can the owner set one tariff for repairs and refuels, say, and another for turning in bounties? Also, the tariff indicated as a 3-digit percentage. What are the minimum and maximum parameters available? Can this tariff be set more than 100%? So like if you wanted to charge some outrageous premium for fuel, could you set a 500% fueling tariff charging a very high premium for it? My guess is that the answer to these questions will be that it is global tariff for everything on the ship except for the explicit prices for anything bought in either a commodities market or the fleet carrier black market. And I'd say they'll probably cap the tariff at 100%, meaning at most you can double charge somebody for something if they're willing to pay it. Number 11, in the carrier management screen at 12 minutes and 28 seconds, in the top right-hand corner, it says L07-P4H. Is this the carrier name or registration number? If not, just what is it? I'm going to go ahead and say that it is probably the ident for the ship. So not the name, but just how your current ship will have a name and then also you can have like a tail code for it. It's that, I think. Question 12. At the 25-minute and 54-second mark, in the screen cap for the redemption office, the service is suspended and the capacity required was 50, whereas the refuel station was 500. Is this reduced amount indicative of all the services having different allocation amounts required, or is 50 indicative of the fact that it's only 1/10 the required amount because it's a suspended service and that those modules are all 500 each? If I had to guess, I would say that they're all 500 each and that it was 1/10 because it was a suspended service. Number 13, at the 26-minute mark, you discussed the fact that you must be at a location that has a FC admin service starport, purchase or return services within the fleet carrier. but it was never explicitly stated if you must be at that location to suspend or unsuspend the same. Lore-wise, it makes sense that you must be at a facility to arrange to onboard or offload that crew and the corresponding equipment to crew the service. But if you're just telling the crew to go on reduced pay holiday for a week or two out in the far end of the galaxy, it would seem that without anything going on or off the ship, this could be accomplished anywhere. This one is tough. I think that they'll probably let us unsuspend the crew anywhere, but I wouldn't be shocked if you had to be at a service. I hope that you can do it anywhere, because that would make a big difference to me in the viability of a lot of those services. Number 14, at the 40-minute and 50-second mark, after they went through and unlocked all the services, the only option grayed out on the docking menu screen was the remote engineering screen. I'm assuming that this was just because it was a dev account that was penniless and yada yada yada, as I stated above. So it was just that pilot had no pinned schematics. Question number 15. Is it possible to evict other commanders' stored ships or modules from the carrier once they are on board? Also, are these things charged against our total 25,000 ton capacity, or for gameplay reasons, are they not counted? If I had to guess, I would say that you could evict someone, either their ships or their stuff from your carrier. As far as the being charged for their capacity, I don't know, that could go either way. We'll have to see. Previously, it was stated that fleet carriers are 1 per commander, 1 per instance, indestructible, but with a formidable weapons layout, presumably to act as a station deterrent to close piracy. I'm 99% sure that all of these facts are still accurate after the rework, but I would like to see it explicitly stated. And number 17, after not seeing tender ships mentioned in the announcement once, I assumed that they were an idea tied to the previous concept of the fleet carriers that did not make it into this build. Number 18, with the ability to replace fleet carrier crew illustrated on several stills in that section, do these crew members have any pertinent stats or buffs that affect gameplay in any way, or is this function merely cosmetic? And finally, number 19, in the shipyard and outfitting sections, they showed off various packs available on both sections. I would very much like a detailed and explicit list for all of the ship packs and module packs and what they contain. That is my full list at the moment of questions after seeing this video. And now for overview and closing thoughts. Well, this thing is pretty damn near perfect. I don't like that we mine for tritium in the ice asteroids, and I don't like the label of Paintworks. But other than that, I've got nothing to complain about. The price at $5 billion is not cheap, but it's doable. The upkeep cost is a joke. It's not going to hurt anything. You're going to be able to knock it out a year's worth in 2 hours and then not have to think about it. It's very forgiving system for how all of that is arranged. If you buy a fleet carrier and then for whatever reason decide you don't want to have one, you get a good chunk of change back. And that's all of the stuff to sort of quote unquote worry about. Now we get to the good stuff. Your very own floating city in space that you can take pretty much wherever you want to go. You can access places as explorers that you couldn't access before because of the 500 light-year jump. With a redemption officer, you can cash in just about anything that you can get anywhere you want. I think also that will include universal cartographics, which will be huge for the exploration community. And then you've got the 1-2 punch of things that absolutely change the game forever. Storage and player-to-player market, both of them. I've been telling everybody for months that fleet carriers were going to include storage. They gave that, and then they doubled down with a player market, which was beyond anything that I had thought possible at this point. So what are fleet carriers going to mean for the game as it stands today? Well, first off, it means that if you get a group of friends together and they want to go to the other end of the galaxy and make their own colonia and completely be left alone, they can do it, and there's a chance that nobody will find them forever, really. I mean, it's absolute freedom to do whatever the hell you want and be left alone. With the storage and the player-to-player market, we're going to see all kinds of heretofore unthought of variations of play and how people handle the market and what people do with it. It's too much to even list right now. Also, let's be clear, these don't come in a vacuum. These are appearing at a very specific time and place in the game. All right? Now, the new era is coming 6 months after these things land. And the rumors are, the leak, the whatever, everything that everyone talks about is base building and elite feat. And the exact quote was first-person shooter with Thargoids. Okay, so what does this mean in the context of base building? Well, base building presumably is going to include storage. Well, we have it here, so it's a pretty much given that if there's base building, there's going to be storage. And if there is the means to manufacture involved in this base building endeavor, well, we now have a player-to-player economy, which just kicks that up to the nth degree. The possibilities are limitless, really. All right. So the other thing that people are taking as a foregone conclusion is elite feat / first-person shooter with Thargoid. Well, in order for you to have a first-person shooter with Thargoids, the entire Thargoid storyline is going to have to advance far beyond where it is today. If we're seeing them not in ships, one of two things is happening. Either they've advanced in their invasion of us, or we're advancing in an invasion of them. One or the other. It's got to be they're either on our turf or we're on theirs. So if it's on our turf, then that means that there's some variation of burn the bubble or, I don't know, some form of devastating assault, and they're here now and we've got to deal with them, in which case the fleet carriers provide an option on how to do that. I don't think that's going to be the case, though, because they put a lot of work into building this bubble, and I don't think they want to see it burn. Too much wasted hours. I think what we're going to see is some sections in the Col 70 sector get unlocked, and we are going there with our fleet carriers, and we're taking the fight to them in a way that only fleet carriers could allow. How else are you going to repair and refuel and get all of your combat ships ready 1,000 light years away from human civilization? Fleet carriers. So yeah, Frontier screwed up. They had an idea for fleet carriers. It didn't work out. They pulled it back. They had to rework it. They pulled it back, whatever, delay, whatever. The fact of the matter is they're here now. And god damn, they're amazing. I can't wait to get mine. I will be there in the beta. I will be there day one, and I hope to see you there. I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you enjoyed my overly nitpicky analysis of this. So let me know in the comments what you think. And next week, Elite Week will be back with its normal sort of self. This week was all just about fleet carriers. Hope you liked it.